I actually met one guy from the DG team too that I never met in person yet too. Yeah, which is amazing to see him.
Yeah, crypto bringing people together.
Exactly.
Cryptocurrency exchange.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Chain Debrief podcast. Today we have with us Miles, the CEO of Decentral Games. So, what is Decentral Games?
Hey Z, thanks for having me on. Decentral Games is a project that I started over 3 years ago. We make games in the Metaverse. We started with Decentraland. We developed various different games, but didn't really find product market fit until we launched Ice Poker about a year ago. And then most recently, we launched Ice Poker Flex, which is a mobile compatible version of that. So our main flagship product is Ice Poker.
So you mentioned when you started with Decentraland, do you mean like started building on Decentraland, or are you guys like under Decentraland or a subsidiary, or how does that work?
So yeah, I kind of view Decentraland as kind of just an open source 3D front end, and so we built on top of it. And you know, we were very bullish on Metaverse back in 2019, and we were part of the Decentraland community from the ICO to the land sales.
Hence the name.
Yeah, exactly. So we felt that just building applications on top of Decentraland and just in the Metaverse in general would be lucrative.
Before we get into Decentral Games and Ice Poker, that's the main product, right? Yeah. So what's it like being a CEO? What's your day to day like?
Day to day, it's a lot. Lots of meetings. I've tried to kind of slim down my daily calendar. But yeah, it's been wild. Over the last 3 years, we've scaled it from just 3 co-founders all the way up to over 50 people now, including our support staff. So yeah, it's a lot of structure and kind of management, but yeah, loving every day of it.
And what were the biggest challenges when you first started?
I would say just because it's such a nascent space, like the Metaverse, and in terms of like documentation, there's not really anything out there that kind of details exactly how to build in the Metaverse. We've started with some of the documentation that Decentraland put out for their SDK, but yeah, just because it's kind of just such a new development area, we kind of had to blaze the path ourselves.
Okay, let's get into the meat of the convo. So Ice Poker, your flagship product, so to say. Yeah. So why poker, and how is it different from all the other poker games, blockchain, Web3 poker games out there? Yeah,
definitely. So we started kind of out with other types of games like slots, roulette, blackjack, backgammon, and we really found solid product market fit with poker because it's very competitive, and it's actually in my opinion better when it's player versus player as opposed to player versus house. And so Ice Poker specifically has a free-to-play, NFT gated access model. And so as a result, our game is structured a little bit differently from a lot of cash poker games. In Ice Poker, you're actually playing with chips that are non-transferable off-chain chips that, based on your performance that specific day, whether you win tournaments or whether you score on the daily leaderboard, score highly on the daily leaderboard, you earn tokens and NFT assets from that. So it's a bit different. It's kind of structured more kind of like an arcade.
And were you guys like poker players before, or?
Yeah, we were not any good, but we loved poker. So
okay, so what's the user base like for Decentral Games as a whole?
So when we were starting out, the Metaverse was empty, and so we designed Ice Poker Challenge Mode, which was our product that we launched a year ago, to basically solve the problem of emptiness in the Metaverse, because it should be an inherently social experience. If you're in a 3D environment by yourself, it's not really fun. So starting out, we were just in the hundreds of users. Over the last year, we were able to scale up to 12,000 daily actives playing the game. Since then, we're roughly around like 4,000, just because the market has cooled off a bit. And that doesn't even account for all of the Metaverse visitors that we have. So like if you look at kind of just our general visitors within our Metaverse scenes in Decentraland, it's upwards of 100,000 per month. And we account for 60% of Decentraland's traffic.
Oh wow! So that means we have, if I want to play, if I want to get into Decentral Games, I have to go into Decentraland first and then play it within there, right?
Yeah, so the way Decentraland is set up, like if you're playing from the browser, which most people do, they also have like a native desktop client as well. But in terms of the browser, each parcel in Decentraland, it's kind of laid out as a map that's like 300 by 300 different parcels. So each parcel has a specific X and Y coordinate. You're able to basically drop a user in to a specific parcel based on the URL. The coordinates are included in the URL. So if someone wants to get inside Ice Poker, we have various venues in Decentraland, one specific one called the Stronghold. And if you go to our site, you can link directly into it. So you actually can kind of link, we can guide users directly into Ice Poker from our website, as opposed to like making them go to Decentraland.
And then go. Oh, interesting. And I see you guys, I went over to the website, I see that you have multiple partnerships as well. So tell us more about all your partnerships.
It's been great. In the past, like we've been working closely with Decentraland, Polygon. We even made a venue for Bored Ape Yacht Club, Atari, etc. And so more recently, we've actually done partnerships specifically by building them and designing them specific, custom wearables to use in our game. And so we actually just launched this week a Pool Together partnership. It's like a pool toy, wearable that their community was airdropped, and it has utility within our Ice Poker Flex game. In the past, like we've done various other ones. I think during launch we launched with 6 different partners, but yeah, I would say the one of the coolest ones and one of my favorites is the Milk Road. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Milk Road newsletter, but
yes, I heard of that. Yeah.
It's like over 100,000 subscribers. They have this hilarious looking milkman mascot, and so we basically made a full milkman outfit that you can collect. It's an NFT, and you can use it to play Ice Poker Flex tournament mode.
And it has utility as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, interesting. Yeah. So I think general consensus right now, like I feel, is that a lot of people say that P2E games aren't really that sustainable. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a very valid concern, and I think if you look at the performance of a lot of these ecosystems over the last 3 quarters, a lot of them simply imploded. Yeah. And so, I mean, I think it's just a result of the design. A lot of them were designed based on a trajectory of growth. And without that trajectory of growth, once the market cools off a bit and the sentiment changes a bit, a lot of the in-game assets just basically collapsed. And so at Decentral Games, we wanted to build different game modes to kind of counteract the emission that a lot of these P2E games are suffering, and we're not we are included in that. Ice Poker Challenge mode the product that we launched a year ago. Highly inflationary with the ICE token, and we have various sinks for ICE, but all of those sinks are not really enough to make it sustainable. And so that's kind of the thinking that was behind the push for tournament mode. Basically, the way tournament mode works is you have to purchase ICE tokens and burn them in order to add shine to your wearables, and with shine you can buy into tournaments. Those tournaments award badges to the winners, and those badges are redeemable for wearables. And so we've seen already, even though we just launched roughly two weeks ago, tournament mode, we've seen quite a bit of ICE burn directly from just adding shine to wearables.
Wow, and I think I recently also saw that you guys just launched a DAO feature, right?
A DAO feature? Yeah. So our DAO has been active since pretty much right after we launched DG.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, it's there's various governance proposals always put forth by the community. We passed one for kind of a revamp of our reward structure, which was passed I think back in July. We actually just launched that new reward structure yesterday, so that was a big kind of push, and But yeah, in general, the DAO it's definitely something that differentiates DG from a lot of other gaming ecosystems because some of them. They have tokens, governance tokens, but they don't really have voting. And so, that's definitely one area where we're a bit different.
So I think one thing I want to pick your brain on. So outside of DG, are you also looking at any other GameFly projects?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new GameFly projects that have popped up that have improved economics compared to the last wave. And so the second wave of GameFly But to be honest, I think like the most interesting thing to keep an eye on is just monitoring some of these games that were able to achieve massive scale in the last cycle. And so, obviously they've been able to raise money and they have runway, like Axie and Steppen. I think they obviously, have to change their model a bit. But the reality is they were able to scale much larger than any other GameFi or even crypto application in the past. And so, we'll see, how it plays out. I think they have the runway and they have a user base that they can leverage. I think they just need to figure out kind of some token sinks, kind of like what we were doing that we've done with tournament mode.
Yeah, interesting. And I think, are you involved in any of those games? Like, have you played them, or just like were you like on the sidelines just observing them?
I checked it out. I demoed it, with a few folks on the team, but I personally don't play them. I'm just too
you just focus
busy.
on your own. Yeah.
It's
You're
hard
laser focus on yourself.
I'm in the cave just doing DG stuff. Yeah,
nice. So I think when it comes to GameFly projects, many people say that GameFly and or NFTs are usually the first touch point when it comes to adoption for retail. So I think touching on adoption right here, what do you think are the biggest challenges when it comes to adoption for crypto in general?
Yeah, this is something that we've actually found out in the last couple of weeks after launching tournament mode, as we tried to, scale that user base with various partnerships, as we discussed earlier. It's all just really built around like onboarding. I feel like onboarding needs to be much better for mass adoption to happen. And I think we've like looked at our product for several months, and we understand kind of like various things that are not intuitive to the average person, even like an average Web3 user. And so right in the last week, we've identified some key areas where we can really optimize that onboarding just for Web3. And then the big step for mass adoption is like the Web2 onboarding, and that's I think going to be where it's going to be essential to have like email login, like fiat on ramps. Just very, very easy. It should be, as if you're playing any app store game, like a Web2 game. It should be as simple as that.
Better UI UX.
Exactly.
Big problem everyone's facing right now.
Yeah, 100%.
And when it comes to adoption, I think for DG, like, do you guys see like higher adoption rates in certain like parts of the world, or is it just like equal all across the board? Yeah,
definitely. For our challenge mode product, I would say there was a lot of adoption in certain countries, specifically, countries where play and earn games were very popular. I think just because the cost of living is a bit lower, so it was attractive to play the game. But I think a lot of that is built upon like this idea of extraction. Play to earn is a flawed model. Like people extracting money from the game as like income is not something that's sustainable. And our main focus has been to put out this game mode that's attractive for people to play just because they love playing the game and they want to actually add value to the game ecosystem. And so ultimately it needs to be kind of an exchange of value. Like the players should not be strictly extracting. It should be they're contributing to the value of the ecosystem by like purchasing in-game items, actually spending in the game, which I think is 100% reasonable to expect, because you've seen the amount of revenue that like Fortnite brings in and skins. We've seen the amount of revenue that like people just buy in like Clash of Clans for items they purchase in that game. And so I think it's perfectly appropriate to assume that it's possible for a game to kind of hit a middle ground where it's not like super extractive, like a lot of play to earn games were last year, and where players are actually willing to spend money.
Give and take, right? Like, you can't always just be giving, which is what a lot of games did last year, which is why like tokens people just dumped all their stuff to zero.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I want to pick your brain as well. The future of gaming, what do you envision it to be like?
So I think there's a pretty massive divide right now between like these Web2 games and Web3 games. Obviously Web3 games are not really advanced like in immersive like Web2 games are. Web2 games have massive budgets and many years of development under their belts to be able to deliver these like really, really amazing experiences. And so I think in the future there'll definitely be kind of an overlap a bit more. There's going to be these very well built games like Fortnite or GTA, stuff like that, with NFT and crypto integrations. I'm not sure when that will happen, but I think something that we're really bullish on is just building like a simple game that people already enjoy playing, like poker, and not reinvent the wheel. Yep. But then kind of add very clever economics to it so that you can have that give and take as we were discussing before, and really have a sustainable in-game economy. And so I feel like first up would be. I'm confident in the next year. If it's not us, I do think it will be us as one of them. But I think there will be some of these Web3 games that kind of just figure out the building a fun game, but making it competitive, making it the assets tied to the identity, so users really identify with the assets that they accumulate, and so they're not just trying to extract. That really achieves this kind of massive scale. And so, I think that's our objective.
Do you think it's better for Web3 games to compete with Web2 games or collaborate and integrate with Web2 games?
I would say, I think for Ice Poker, we definitely see more of our competition or just like, target market, the users of these like free games. I think we want to eventually, like right now, we're trying to just make a good user experience for Web3 folks because it's low hanging fruit. But ultimately, what's going to allow us to massively scale would be, to actually get users from some of these Web2 games and, introduce them to Web3, educate them about, the benefits of custodying your assets and unlocking that value, as opposed to just, purchasing assets in a game and, not being able to actually own them. I think, I don't know, it's tough because you can't really, a lot of people talk about like Web2 games and being able to like slap a token model on it. And I think the token model is, is just as important as the actual game itself. It needs to be well thought out. And I think like, the folks that think that you can just throw a token model on like an existing Web2 game, I don't think it's that easy.
Speaking of introducing someone to Web3, how would you introduce someone who doesn't know anything about Web3 into Web3?
I would say, I think gaming is a great intro. They can immediately see the benefits of, actually owning their assets and being able to collect and, trade and purchase and sell these assets and not be completely at the mercy of the game developer. I think that's huge. And so, I've onboarded several folks to Ice Poker, and that was actually their first time using a wallet. That was their first time actually like owning an NFT. Yep. And so that was a pretty cool experience. And so we want to do that for millions of people.
Yeah, poker degens especially.
Yep.
So, Token 2049, how'd you like it so far?
I thought it was a really cool event. I've been to various conferences, whenever I get out of the cave and I venture out. And I think this one was really cool. It was my first conference actually that I've been to in Asia. Yeah, I've been to many in Europe and in the US. And so, that was a really cool experience. I think it's like definitely a different crowd. You get the folks from like Dubai and, all around like, China and, like larger Asia region. And, I think a lot of the conferences that we went to in New York and, Europe, it's slightly different group. And so, I think it was great to just, get the word out about what we're working on. And it's a massive market, even bigger than, you could say it's even bigger than the one in the West. So I think it's like, I think it's great. It was great to be here. And I feel like the organization of the conference was top notch. I thought they did a great job.
So when going for conferences, do you have a specific goal in mind, like when we go for every conference, or do you just go in and just try to meet whoever you can meet, or do you like specifically find people there? What's your goal?
So I would say we set up meetings with various people, and I thought this was a great opportunity to meet some of the partners that we have been working with for several years that I've never met in person. So that was number one priority. Also, to promote the launch of our Flex tournament mode product that we launched 2 weeks ago, and then also our Ice Merge project. We call it Delegation V2. It's like the new reward system that we launched yesterday. And so, I thought this was great timing to just promote those items as well. And then, and of course, you always meet folks that are that you don't really expect to meet, and it could be fruitful, to connect. And I'm glad I met you.
Yeah, definitely. Likewise. So what was your most favorite experience at Token 2049, aside from all the free drinks and the good ice cream?
Yeah. Lots of free goodies. But yeah, I would say my top experience was being on the panel, both at your guys' event was awesome to meet everyone. Really fun panel, and then also the panel at Token 2049. Thought the other panelists were really interesting people, and just diving into a chat about the metaverse was really enjoyable. Other than that, yeah, just meeting with several people, various folks that we've worked with for so long and never met in person. Was great. I actually met one guy from the DG team too that I never met in person yet too. Yeah, which is amazing to see him. Yeah,
crypto bringing people together.
Exactly.
Before we end this episode, I want to go a little bit more into your personal life. So, how did you get started with crypto?
So I got started in crypto back in 2017. I was actually, trading BTC and ETH before that, but in 2017, that's when I graduated from UCLA, and I was running an e-commerce business at the time that I started during between my second and third year at UCLA. And I don't know, it was a business that was good cash flow, but it wasn't something that I ever raised money for, ever
drop shipping?
Got not drop shipping specifically. It's direct to consumer brand that we had a warehouse for fulfillment and everything. So it was a bit more custom than drop shipping, but similar. But at the time, this is during the last cycle, and BTC and ETH started to rip, and a lot of these ICOs popped up, and I thought it was really interesting to just evaluate these ICOs, and one of them was Decentraland, and so that's kind of how I got introduced to Decentraland and became a part of their community, and built various kind of dApps throughout 2017, 2018. But didn't really find something I really wanted to sink my teeth into until 2019. And this was actually pretty much at the bottom of the last bear market, or near the bottom. I felt that building something would take. By the way, I'm the worst trader of all time. So I think just building things is for me at least is a better use of my mental
more efficient use of your mental health. Mental space.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how I got fully into crypto.
And in all your years of doing crypto, what were your most degen moments or stories?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's been, from DeFi summer 2020 to this last cycle 2021. I think I'm pretty much the worst trader of all time. So I've stopped trading on a daily basis. I don't even trade at all.
That's good.
But in terms of degenning, I think it's got to be around some of the NFT projects that I just aped into, and I don't really talk about it too much, but yeah, I think if I just didn't touch any of the crypto that I originally had, I would be much better off today.
I think same here. I guess I've been degening to so many different projects. I minted 20 of a random NFT, and everything just went to zero. I think it was during the free mint phase. Yeah. If you were to start Decentral Games all over again, what would you do differently?
It's really tough to say because I think part of building in public is you kind of arrive at certain destinations by information that you learn along the way. So I think looking back 3 years, and I think there's so many things that I would have done differently if I could communicate with my prior self. And so, I guess just make decisions quicker. I think, we didn't really find product market fit, like I said, until we launched Ice Poker. If we just started with Ice Poker and started with poker development and didn't develop all these other games, we'd be much farther along today. I guess just kind of arriving at the decisions we made quicker would be helpful, and we'd be farther along. But, we would have never been able to make those decisions if we didn't do what we did. So it's kind of tough to gauge that and fully answer.
Okay. So before we end our podcast, what advice do you have for people or budding developers who want to build GameFly projects?
For developers thinking about building GameFly projects, I would say it's really helpful to just use all of the products out there. Some of the ones that you think are the top products, just to get a feel of how the game and the token model kind of integrate. I would say absolutely don't overlook the token models. I feel you have to model them, several years into the future, and really make assumptions based around data, and you have to assume the worst too. So it's if you're emitting X amount of tokens, I think you have to kind of assume that 100% of them are going to be sold on the market. And if that messes your model up, then you need to redesign the model to have more organic sinks in it. And that's something that we learned the hard way. I think we were a bit too optimistic of people's willingness to not sell and instead reinvest. And so, obviously we had to fix that with our recent release of this new reward structure. But yeah, in terms of just general advice, I'd say it's always helpful to just like use products, see what works, see what doesn't work, and see what you can integrate into yours.
Yeah, basically just immerse yourself in the system and then see what's wrong, what you can fix, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. All right, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Chain Debrief podcast. Thank you so much, Miles, CEO of Decentral Games. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.